Today is the official breakdown of AJ versus Francis Ngannou. This Friday, I will be live doing my live stream watch party here at the W.A.D.E Concept. It's going to be an insane heavyweight showcase. The winner of this one gets a shot at the undisputed belt. Whoever wins the Usyk and Fury fight. And it all starts this Friday. But we have to talk about who's going to win. What's going to be the X factor? And I'm willing to bet that you guys have thought your own picks through and want to drop some down for yourself. And you can do that using the sponsor of today's video, DraftKings. Guys, are you ready for UFC 299 this weekend? Sugar Sean O'Malley, the belt holder at 135, trying to get revenge on Chito Vera in the main event. Well, I am, and I've got some exciting news for you guys. I've teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook to help bring the ultimate fight night experience. Imagine this, you're a new customer and you deposit a minimum of $5 and make your initial bet. Well, if that doesn't hit, you're not gonna look like my face shining in these lights because it's no sweat. You get a bonus bet back in the amount of your original bet up to $1,000. Just download the DraftKings app and sign in using my promo code WADE, W-A-D-E. The crown is yours. That's right, you heard me correct. New customers get a no sweat bet up to $1,000 if your first bet loses. And DraftKings has something for existing customers as well. All customers get a same game parlay insurance every day. In other words, get a bonus bet back in the amount of your original bet if one of your same game parlay legs loses. And if sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry, you can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy and have the best shot to win cash prizes. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use promo code WADE and get a no sweat bet. Once again, that's promo code WADE only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Like I said, UFC 299 this weekend. I'm taking Sugar Sean O'Malley to win, and you guys can join in on the action when you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. And of course, as always, guys, please gamble responsibly. Thank you to DraftKings Sportsbook for sponsoring this video. And now, let's get into the breakdown. Anthony Joshua Francis Ngannou, the winner of this one, can change heavyweight boxing history. Francis coming in, shocking the world by going toe-to-toe with Tyson Fury. AJ trying to shut down a little bit of the hype and tell everyone and show everyone that boxing is still on top. What happens? The breakdown. Let's go. All right, so this is heavyweight boxing, first off. And in this specific weight class, pretty much anything can happen. You can have, on one hand, Francis Ngannou doing what he did in his first ever boxing match by going toe-to-toe with Tyson Fury. The man had never put a set of gloves on and stepped into a pro ring, let alone done it for 10 rounds, and he did it in front of the world. That should tell you all you need to know about the potential outcomes of this fight. It could be anything from Francis going in and doing the same thing, shocking some people, potentially even squeaking a decision out of it, or Francis with his massive power knocking AJ out cold. And on the other side, it could be AJ coming in, doing what he should do, outboxing Francis for 10 rounds, putting on a show, putting a lesson into the mind of Francis of what pro boxing actually is and how you can't just step into the sport, or AJ potentially wearing down the big man and knocking him out, even though Francis has never been stopped. And on that point, I kind of have to believe it's not going to start now. Francis has been able to take so many big shots over his career, which could potentially be a bad thing, right? One of Francis's big weapons, I've always thought, is his ability to take punches. He hasn't had to take a ton, but when he has, it hasn't fazed him at all. The Tyson Fury fight, Tyson hit him with a couple of good, solid right hands, and Francis just shrugged them off. He didn't even really affect him. He barely had his head move off the swivel. This is a big individual. This is why Tyson Fury couldn't bully him like he's been bullying other heavyweights. Francis isn't necessarily the tallest guy in the world, but his body density, his mass, he's about 275 pounds, lean, strong muscle. It's going to be hard to move him around that ring. And if you're AJ, I wouldn't play the push-pull game. I wouldn't play the clinch, who's the bigger man game, because that's not going to work. If you're AJ, you need to fundamentally box Francis. And that's how, if we're talking about AJ winning this fight, that's the path. He has to fundamentally outclass Francis Ngannou for the majority or the entirety of the fight. And if the knockout comes, it comes. Like, let's say that as the fight goes on, AJ finds, let's not forget, his big-time power in his right hand, left hook, uppercut. He's got nasty hands as well. He's been putting it back on display. His confidence is coming back. Fight after fight in these last couple, he's starting to find the old AJ again, the old destroyer, which makes me more excited about this fight. But I don't think swinging for the fences is the game plan you want to have for AJ. I don't think coming out massively aggressive with Francis is something you want to do either, because in that Tyson Fury fight, Francis countered Tyson with a left hook to put him down. It wasn't like Francis was leading the dance when he dropped him. dropped him off a counter shot. And again, you're talking about Francis, who is developing quickly in this boxing sport, one that he wanted to be a part of before he even did MMA. So look for other wrinkles in Francis's game that we didn't see in the Tyson Fury fight. I mean, it's his first one ever. You're probably not going to see him do the same thing. He's been training, I assume, strictly boxing since that fight. And again, these are assumptions, but I do assume there's going to be improvements there. And there's a lot to improve on, but there's also things that he did very well with Tyson that AJ can't be lackadaisical on. AJ is a technically gifted boxer, and he is Marcus of Queensberry, fundamentally strong, whereas Tyson is a bit unorthodox and does fight with his hands down a little more, does take a little more risks than AJ will. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing for AJ in this fight. I do want to see him be a fundamental boxer. While it may be a little bit more one-dimensional or less fluid or whatever you want to call it, those things don't take as much energy. Those things that AJ can do, popping his jab, coming back to center, being able to create volume without losing a ton of energy is something I think is a massive, massive win for AJ. And I do think that's another point I want to get to. AJ's volume has to be turned up in this fight. There were rounds in that Fury and Ngannou fight where we saw punches landed at like 11-6, 9-7, 13-10. That can't happen in this AJ fight. He needs to turn up and throw volume at Francis. And again, not necessarily overcommittal volume where he's throwing big time shots and leaning in and that chin's exposed, but it's also varied. He can go to the body, he can up jab, he can power jab. There's things that Tyson didn't really show Francis as far as just the nuances of boxing that I think AJ can. With that being said, those are my two kind of big points for AJ. It's that you have to be responsible defensively, not taking Ngannou lightly. Not saying that Tyson did, but a lot of indications do say that, and that's nothing to take away from Francis, because I think Francis beat Tyson Fury. I think so. I don't care what people say. I think that that's what happened when my eyes saw that fight. But AJ, knowing that Francis is a lot better than just a guy making his second pro fight, needs to understand that defensive responsibility is a must, because Francis can put you down with one, just like most heavyweights can, but Francis has this otherworldly ability to not only put you down, but also stay in the fire, stay in the pocket, take some punches to give his one. I think that, with the additional fundamental skill set that AJ possesses that Francis just hasn't had the time and ability to develop. Also, the fact that you now have tape on Francis Ngannou, 10 rounds of watching him move, watching him punch, seeing that Francis does like to go to the body with his jab, and he was pretty active with that jab in the Tyson Fury fight. It wasn't just a left hook or a big right hand. No, Francis was doing things to set his shots up off the counter shot and to drop the hands of Tyson Fury with the continuous work to the body with the jab and then looking upstairs on the counter punch or to follow up behind it. Francis is a lot better as a boxer than I think a lot of people are giving him credit for by just being an MMA guy. AJ has to understand that, be again also patient and not fighting for the sanctity of boxing in a way. Like, you can't go out there and try to put the hard man act on and be like, I'm going to stop this guy, he doesn't belong in a ring with me, boxing over every. You can't fight like that. I don't think AJ will. It needs to be AJ versus Francis in there, not boxing versus MMA. If that's the case, you get out of sorts, you try to rush things to get done to show how the superiority of your sport is. It's not going to go well. And again, I don't think AJ is going to do that, but in my opinion, for AJ to win this fight, it's lead foot action, volume with his jab, patience off of that jab, not looking for the knockout, but also implementing damaging punches that do add up the more your volume increases and the longer the fight goes. And if the stop presents itself, of course, step on the gas. But if it doesn't, be okay with being defensively responsible and winning a boxing match in the most fundamental way possible, teaching a lesson, a boxing lesson to Francis Ngannou. Because almost like watching influencer boxing in a way, you're seeing a guy you don't know where his ceiling is yet. As far as Francis goes, his ceiling is top of the fucking food chain, because that's what he just did in his first boxing match with the best heavyweight boxer in the world in Tyson Fury. So you don't know how much more he can develop, and that's what this fight is for. I want to see Francis do a couple more things right. Yes, volume would be a great thing for Francis, understanding that boxing's a little different from MMA and that the openings are so narrow. Versus AJ, it's not going to be as easy, in my opinion, for Francis to hit AJ the way he did Tyson Fury. Tyson takes a lot of shots to the body without really defending them at all because he's so massive and fucking blubbery around his waist. Francis, I think, is going to find a harder time going through the guard of AJ, but if he's able to, you capitalize in spurts, in my opinion. That means The blitzes need to be there. Not necessarily like a running forward Tyron Woodley blitz, but a blitz of offense at a time. Very staggered, explosive movements from Francis, I think, are a big switch up to what a lot of boxers are used to, but also not being predictable with said blitzes, like off a counter punch one time, then the jab combination upstairs and down the next. But again, when I look at Francis, it wasn't like he was outclassed as a boxer in the Fury fight either. He was doubling that jab up, sliding to his left, looking for that right hand over the top. He has fundamental skill. It's just not as developed and not as refined as AJ's will be. But I think that AJ at this point, with the regained confidence and the ability, the boxing ability, if he can keep it together up here. And here's another factor that I'm just now putting into the video because I've almost forgotten about it. If AJ is right up here, and even if things go wrong in the fight, if he can remain right up here, that's a big key. Because Francis has said to AJ throughout this buildup that when Tyson Fury hit the floor, he had resolve. He had pride. I don't know what the word he used was, but Francis essentially was like, he had an ability to get off the floor that I don't know if AJ has. If I hit AJ with the fucking mallet, can he get up off the floor? And Francis is like, I don't know that he can. And I don't know if he meant that physically, but I think more here, how does AJ process if things start to go badly? Francis does a good job, if he's even losing fights, of remaining calm, composed, and again, he has almost nothing to lose here. He's fighting with house money, so if he is in a bad position, he's just going to continue to look for that one-hitter quitter that absolutely can and potentially would happen. And again, heavyweight boxing is completely unpredictable. AJ is hittable. Francis is faster than people give him credit for. Am I crazy enough to go Francis Ngannou here? Fuck it, man. Let's have some fun. I want to see it, so I'm going to pick it. I don't care. Christian, scrap the fucking AJ prediction. I don't care. I think AJ should win this fight by decision. He should. He should win this fight by decision or otherwise. But I'm going to say, because I'm just at that point now where I'm saying fuck it and I want to see it. And it's not the most likely outcome, but here we go. Francis knocks out Anthony Joshua. If this happens, boxing is gone crazy. And this may be one of the worst picks I've made. Purely for Francis's story, nothing against AJ, and I think AJ honestly should win a decision, but let's go Francis by knockout. Let's mix it up a little bit, and I think he gets it done potentially in the later rounds and in some historic fashion. Francis by knockout, and he goes on to fight for the heavyweight title. Again, not the most likely scenario, but that's what I'm going with. Comment section, you let me know down below what happens in this fight. Is it just as simple as AJ giving a boxing lesson and Francis just not anywhere close to his level as a traditional boxer, which is true? Or can Francis make magic happen? Don't have those answers. This Friday, live on stream, we will be here. I guess we'll find out.